Hey guys, what's up? So we continue our indexes and report series, and in this we will talk about corruption perception index. Very important, especially for essay writing as well as writing a lot of answers in polity sections. Global innovation index, very crucial when you talk about science and technology, innovation policy, etc. Gini coefficient, extremely important in economics parlance whenever you talk about inequality or income distribution, etc. And finally we talk about Laffers curve, again very crucial in economy. Okay, so this is the part 1.4. Please watch all the parts 1.1 to 1.3 before we watch this. It's extremely crucial you watch them, otherwise it becomes difficult for you to understand them. This is presented by me and this is the YouTube channel An Academy. So if you want to know more, you can read as much as you want. I'm just trying to impart high quality accessible education. If you have any query or any doubt, you can ask on the video or on the YouTube, either on the YouTube or on the Facebook page. This is the URL. What is corruption perception index? See, what do you mean by corruption? Corruption is use of public power for personal gain. This is the definition of corruption. How do you perceive it? It is not corruption measurement index. Why? Because real corruption is always hidden, so it's impossible for you to measure it. So it's how the people, how the experts, how the bodies, how the groups, how the institutions perceive it. That's how you come about CPI. Okay, so it is the basically ranking of nations and territories on the basis of how corrupt the public sector, that is public officials, the bureaucrats and other persons who are on high public positions and politicians are perceived. Okay, so both the elected people's representative as well as selected ones. So it is a composite index. What do you mean by a composite index? That it is calculated based on a combination of data from a lot of reputable institutions. I don't want you to list down the 10, 12 institutions, which is not necessary. They specialize basically in governance issues as well as in the business climate analysis. So how good it is. So these institutes, 12 to 13 institutes, they send their report on the basis of which a composite index is created, that is called as CPI. Okay, now CPI reflects views. Again, it is not absolute, it's views, it's perception of lots of observers, including experts who live in the countries and the territories which are evaluated. Always remember, Transparency International TI is the body which calculates CPI. Please remember this, it is asked a lot of time. It takes the data from those 12 13 institutions and then it calculates this composite index. Now, just like HDI, higher the number of CPI, better it is. It means it is less corrupt. For example, if you have 100 score, which is not possible theoretically, very clean. Rather, very few countries will ever reach to this. Like the best countries known today have 92 score. So only in theory it can exist. Well, 0 is for highly corrupt. Okay, again 0 is also not possible. Corruption means misuse of power by a public authority for a private gain. I have already told you. And why do we measure perception? Why can't we just measure the corruption? Because absolute corruption is hidden. Okay, you can't measure it, it's hidden. That's why you measure perception. And worse the CPI, CPI has a correlation. Okay, you understand what is correlation? So as the CPI becomes worse, regulations by government increases, and when regulation increases, black marketing also increase, so it further makes CPI worse. So it's a vicious cycle of corruption. Now moving forward, OECD countries, again I am telling you, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, in general we have a very high score. For example, Denmark is the first ranker, have 92 score, New Zealand has 91. So these are OECD countries, very high score. Okay, now India had 38 score in 2014, which means a rank of 85 out of 175. Earlier we were doing better, 81 something rank, but now it is 85. Now Pakistan has rank of 126, Bhutan has very high, very good rank of 30, Bangladesh has 145, and Afghanistan have 172, one of the worst performing countries. Now African and Arab countries undergoing civil war, uprisings, upsurges, upheaval, all the ups are the worst performers. Okay, the uprooting of governments, etc. Now again, please remember this. This has been proven that 1 unit increase in CPI, for example, India has 38 score. So if we improve our increase to, let's say, 40 or 41, then it can lead to increase in GDP also, the percentage rate. This is extremely important. You should write this whenever we are talking about economic losses due to corruption. Okay, so you can quote this data. Now, what is criticism? It can't be measures, right? It can't be like real corruption measurement. It is just perception. Please remember, this is extremely important. It cannot measure the real corruption. It's focused on elite countries, and it promote wrong public policies. For example, a public policies which is introduced says somehow that CPI is the target now. So rather than dealing with the real corruption, they come into this war mode against CPI. So they just want to increase their CPI rather than decreasing the corruption. It's a difference, okay? Just remember this. Now, Global Innovation Index, GII, it ranks the country obviously on the basis of the environment it provides for innovation. This is the first thing. Second thing, what is the output of these innovations? Is there any tangible output of these innovations? So both these parameters the country is ranked on. First, the enabling environment. Second is the innovation outputs. Both are important. It uses more than 80 indicators. You don't need to remember them. It measures both the capabilities and output, as I've already spoken. Switzerland, UK, Sweden, Netherlands, and USA are the top five. You can just remember one or two of them name. China is very high in BRICS, 29th number. South Africa is again high. Brazil is high. India is on the lower side out of 141. So whenever even if it comes to BRICS nation, you can see Brazil, China, South Africa doing much better than India, even in innovation potential terms. Now, Global Innovation Index is measured by two sub-indexes. One is called as Innovation Input Sub-Index, IISI. One is Innovation Output Sub-Index. Just remember these two terms, nothing else is required. They have five pillars under them, they have two pillars under them. Okay, now pillars are divided into sub-pillars. Just in case if someone asks in prelims, you should not look as if you have never heard of Global Innovation Index. Each sub-pillar is divided into individual indicators, which are 81, sometimes 83 in total. Now, sub-pillar scores is the weighted average of individual indicators. Okay, I'll tell you what are these pillars and sub-pillars. Now, pillar scores are weighted. Weighted means one of them can be given more weight, like in average calculation. So, for example, if A is 5 and B is 5, then their mean need not be 5 if A is given more weight than B. Okay, just remember this. Now, four measures include which makes this GII. First is innovation input subindex. As I've already told you, it takes five pillars. Output takes two pillars into account. Overall, global innovation index mean of input and output subindex. Very simple. And innovation efficiency ratio is output divided by input subindex. Just remember this. This is the ratio while this is the average. Now, these are the five pillars under innovation input. So, what input can you provide in innovation? First of all, you need to have institutions, the practices, the policies in place. Okay. Then you need to have human capital. They have necessary degrees and they have necessary infrastructure like laboratories, etc. Then market needs to be sensitive towards innovation. And finally, business should evolve around these innovations. So, market sophistication and business sophistication. Now let's move to output. So in output, as you all know, we will deal with knowledge and technology outputs, where also the creative outputs. So these are the two outputs which we include in GII calculation. So let's draw a graph. Okay, so this is how you draw a graph, right? So okay, so this is the y-axis. Okay, here we have cumulative share of income earned by the people. Okay, so just remember, this is the total income earned. This is, we have 0 and this is 100%. So here must be 10, 20, 30, you got the point. 90% of the total income earned. And finally this, here we have share of people. Okay, share of people, the cumulative income earned from lowest to highest incomes. Again, just remember this, this is increasing in this direction, this is increasing in this direction. Okay, so this is, here we have 100%. Just remember this. So this line, if I draw a line from here to here, this is, just imagine it's a straight line, and this is at 45 degrees. So now if I show you, this is the 10% of the people and this is the 10% of the income. So at this point, 10% of the lowest people earn the 10% of the income. Again, if you go by here, so 20% of the people will earn 20% of the income. 50% of the bottom people earn 50% of the income. Is that understood? So we go on and on and on, something like that. So this is called as line of equality. It means here the Gini coefficient is 0. Now let me draw a typical curve for a particular country. Okay, so let's assume this is a curve for a particular country. Sorry for the bad drawing. Yeah, something like this. So this was a typical curve for a country. So now this particular area which comes between the Lorenz curve and the line of equality. So now this red curve is the Lorenz curve. So this area, let's assume this is, as I've already spoken, A. Now this area between line of equality and this entire area, this x-axis is B. So this area between line of equality and the x-axis is B. Okay, so the Gini coefficient is A divided by A plus B. Now I think it is easier for you to understand. So just remember this diagram, it is extremely important, it will help you a lot. This is how you calculate Gini coefficient. Now let me draw one more in this, and let's assume now this is the Lorenz curve. Okay, so in this particular case, so the value of A will increase in the blue curve, and since the value of A increases, the Gini coefficient automatically increases. Is that understood? So if this curve, if Lorenz curve, let's assume it is exactly the same as line of equality, then the Gini coefficient is 0, which means we have perfect equality. Okay, and let's assume the Lorenz curve is following the x-axis. Okay, let's assume this is the Lorenz curve. Okay, and it is following the x-axis, then it means Gini coefficient is 1. So it means we have the, because A is equals to B in that particular case. So when it follows the x-axis completely, it means that all the person combined together is earning 0% of income share. Only one person is earning everything. So it means Gini coefficient is 1. So I hope you understand now. So again, in short, so if this is the curve and this is the line of equality. Okay, so in this particular case, this has, the country has, let's say, zero point 0.2 Guinea, then this particular country has 0.4 Guinea, then this particular country has 0.6 Guinea. Okay, is that understood? As the value of A keeps on increasing, the value of Guinea also increase, and if it is perfectly parallel, then it means G is equals to 1. So what are the implications of Gini? High Gini means high inequality, as I have already spoken. Gini more than 50 is considered high inequality. It is seen in case of Southern Africa, especially in South Africa. It is one of the highest unequal nation of planet Earth. Namibia, Botswana, etc. Then Latin and Central America are also highly unequal. Honduras, Colombia, Belize, Brazil is highly unequal country. It has Gini ranging in 0.6. Okay. Then Asia also is very poor performer, especially the Southern Asia. Now India's Gini is around 35. Okay, so it is considered a very good score of 0.35. Okay, now OECD countries have one of the lowest Gini in entire Earth. It ranges from zero point 0.2 to zero point 0.4. Now limitation of Gini is that it does not take into account population structure. For example, if you have very less working age group and you have lot of old age group, so it means that Gini is, in this case, will be high because very few people are earning all the income, but it does not mean the country is unequal. So if the number of aged, working population, children, etc., all should be taken into account, but it does not take into account, and it is not the indicator of well-being all the time. For example, Afghanistan is one of the lowest Gini of 27.8, does not mean it is one of the most awesome performing nations. Now, lastly, let's talk about Laffer curve. Laffer curve basically demonstrates the relationship between tax rates and tax revenue, which is collected by the officials. Now, as the taxes increase from the origin of the curve, that is from very low value, tax revenue collected will also increase to a certain extent. Okay. Now, this collection will peak at a certain point. Let's call it T star. Okay. Now, let's assume tax rate is increased to 100%. Okay, extreme right of the curve. Now everything you earn will go to the government coffers. Okay, now will you work? No, obviously the answer is no. That is why we do not increase the tax rate to 100%. So it means that if tax rates keep on increasing, people tend not to work hard. Rather, some may stop working altogether because people will not be incentivized enough, and thereby it will reduce tax revenue. So it asks to keep the tax rate anywhere between 20 to 50%, not beyond that. That is followed by the entire world. So how do you draw this Laffer curve? This is how you draw this Laffer's curve. Okay, so this is, here you have the government's revenue. Okay, and here you have the tax rate in percentage. Is that understood? So this is the curve. This should start from 0. Okay, it should start from 0, otherwise it will look like Gaussian curve never touches any of these axes. Just remember this. That is why it is not a Gaussian curve. This is 100, this is 0, this is the point where it peaks around somewhere. Okay, so this is the T star. So as you can see, after T star, the this keeps on falling, and government will get less of the revenue, people will also not work. That is why the rate should be somewhere between here in this particular zone, that is 20 to 50%. So that is all about this video. If you like this video, do let me know and spread the word and be a part of this education revolution. Thank you for watching the tutorial. Have an awesome day.